Hey, what's going on everyone? I am absolutely loving this build right now. So this support build will let your teammates have almost 3 times more DPS, will give them a crazy amount of elemental wells, orbs of power, and overshields. And not just that, you'll be helping your team get special ammo drops more often, and allowing them to become Charge of Light from multiple sources. So YouTube, my name is Divide. Hit that subscribe, and don't be afraid to give this a try. Wait, did that just rhyme? Okay, yeah, just roll the intro already. Just quickly before we start, I want to mention that I have now created a playlist for all my previous build videos, so if you've missed any or want to check them out, then feel free to take a look. I will leave that link in the description and a card to it on screen. Now that said, let's start. So this is your Titan support build here, and we're going to dive straight into creating our build. So firstly, let's start with our loadout, because this is actually going to be important for our build this time, and you do have a small amount of flexibility with a few things. So first up is our primary weapon. Now ideally you want to go with a pulse rifle, something with high impact and good damage perks like kill clip or rampage will do a good job, because this build is focused on the end game and harder activities like master and possibly grandmaster nightfalls, so you want to be able to kill minor adds quickly so we'll become Charge of Light. You'll see this in a short moment. Next up for our energy, you want to go with Divinity, and again I'll go more into this shortly, but for your heavy slot you can go with whatever you like. Preferably you want to go with a sword so we can spawn some orbs with our mod that we're slotting later on. Moving on to our subclass though, we are a Void Top Tree, Code of the Protector, with our melee defensive strike. This will give us and our allies an overshield on melee final blows and give us melee energy on final blows during an active overshield. Then we have Rallying Force to restore health on melee kills, and Ward of Dawn to give us and our teammates a 35% damage boost. Now pairing the Ward of Dawn with Divinity gives us that 35% buff and a 30% debuff, but later on we'll have Sundering Glare for another 20% debuff, so you can kind of see where this is going. But moving on to our armour for the helmet, we're going with the Helm of Saint 14 exotic here, and that will blind enemies that go into our Ward of Dawn and will grant us and our allies an overshield as we pass through the bubble, so it essentially makes a Warlock's Well of Radiance not really necessary. Now you can get this exotic from Xur on the weekends if he's selling it, or as an exotic well drop. But for the mod we're going with Powerful Friends, so that when we become Charge of Light, our allies will also become Charge of Light if not already. Then you want the hands-on mod for bonus super energy on melee kills, because we'll be using our melee and grenade quite often. Before our gauntlets, go with Swift Charge, which allows us to become Charge of Light from rapid pulse rifle kills, which is what I mentioned earlier, that we would need a pulse rifle, but you could change this out to suit your preference. However, our secondary perk with this will give us a chance to spawn special ammo with pulse rifle kills for our allies. For the next mod, go with Momentum Transfer, where causing damage with a grenade reduces our melee cooldown, and of course an unstoppable pulse rifle mod alongside that if you're doing activities where you have champions. But for the chest you want Radiant Light. This will allow nearby enemies to become Charge of Light when we use our super. It's not really essential and you could switch this out if you want, but I thought this was the best fit here. But then we have our melee damage resistance, so we can be a little bit more aggressive at that close range with our melee and sword. But for the legs, Striking Light is our Charge of Light mod. This will spawn Orbs of Power for our allies when using our melee ability to kill an enemy, but more importantly give us that damage resistance when sprinting. Then I went with the Absolution mod for reduced ability cooldowns when we pick up an Orb of Power. Finally for the class item though, we're going with Sundering Glare, and this will work and stack with Divinity and a bubble, and you can check out my other video if you wish to. I'll leave a link in the description and card on screen where I test out all the damage numbers with this mod and other debuffs. But this mod will weaken enemies at a distance, and we will be using Divinity to trigger that. And finally we have the Elemental Ordnance mod, which is just good with every build, but this will spawn Elemental Wells when we get grenade kills, and picking up that well will give us ability energy. Now you could switch out a mod for Elemental Charge, where picking up an Elemental Well will make us Charge of Light, which stacked with Powerful Friends will make your allies Charge of Light, but I kind of feel like you need the Radiant Light more to maximise your DPS. You ideally want your allies to become Charge of Light in a boss fight, and when you place down your bubble they'll become Charge of Light, and if your allies are using things like Lucent Blade or High Energy Fire, then that stacked on top of Sundering Glare, Divinity and the bubble is just going to make them do a ridiculous amount of damage. It won't even be funny. Like regardless of how underpowered you are or what activity you're in, you're going to melt bosses like it's nothing. Now if they have Focus and Lens as well and someone is using Stasis, then that's even better. But that is our build right there, and now as usual with my build videos, let's review what we're getting. So we're a support build to help support our team and keep them safe and do more damage. We run into an area where there are champions or bosses, we get some pulse rifle and grenade kills, spawning elemental wells with a chance of special ammo to drop for our allies. Everybody can pick up these wells, giving us and our allies ability energy. We use our melee to kill a small ad to give us and our team an overshield, whilst dropping 3 orbs of power at the same time. Once we're ready for DPS, we place our bubble, automatically making our team charged with light if not already, and use Divinity on the boss which triggers the Sundering Glare, giving us a plus 35%, a plus 30% and a plus 20% increase in total damage. Us and our team automatically getting an overshield from our bubble that we can take outside with us to get more protected due to the exotic helmet. All unstoppables are stopped by a pulse rifle and overloads staggered by our Divinity. Definitely the perfect build for a Titan who wants to play a support and use Divinity. This is really good for those harder endgame activities like Master Nightfalls, and I'd strongly recommend someone running this build if you can. Preferably you want to maximise your grenade and melee regen stats, but it's not essential as our primary focus is to weaken enemies with Divinity and Sundering Glare and to make our allies charge with light as much as possible. So what do you all think of this Titan build here? I think it's pretty fun to use instead of always being a Warlock with a well, but I guess everyone has their own preference. Let me know what you all think and what your favourite builds are or what you want to see next, and I'll do my best to make one for that subclass. I do also have a Hunter support build out which you can check out by viewing the playlist of all my Destiny 2 builds for this season, but give this build a try, drop a rating, comment, sub and share as I'll be doing more builds like this for all the classes. But for now, enjoy this one and I'll see you all in that next video.